How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the #1 Raiders podcast in the world. My name is Steven Michaels. This is the Raiders Daily. Get ready, because here we go with another. This is episode 4 of the Oakland Raiders Hard Knocks recap show. So let's get right into it, because I got a ton of notes. A ton. So we're going to go right ahead. All right, so the show opens with Coach Buckner telling the D-line that some of them just suck. I loved it. I really do. I love this whole little segment. There was a little bit more to that whole meeting. It was edited out, obviously. A lot of stuff in tonight's show was edited out in the meetings and stuff. I know for a fact there was something that was edited out during that meeting, but I can't get into that on this podcast. If you want to hear about that kind of stuff, you gotta join TRD Elite. Anyways, then it's AB time. The show goes over the helmet issue just a little bit. They talk about it for like a minute. He says one of the helmets hurts his head. Clearly, it's edited again. They don't really go into detail. It's seriously about maybe 45 seconds long. Now the show theme really begins. We all knew that the show was going to be about going to Canada, right? Because it's the preseason game. Gruden mentions that it's a distraction, but this is a game for the guys trying to make the team. Everyone knows that. That's why they left a lot of guys at home. And these guys who are trying to make the team, they got to take this game seriously. Then Hard Knocks, they show Luke Wilson, who is from Canada. He's probably not also making the team, by the way. Coaches ask Wilson about Canada. Very boring stuff here. Very, very boring. Then the show takes a break from talking about the trip. For about 20 minutes, we get a good scene, a really good scene with all the tight ends. We get a Darren Waller segment, and Hard Knocks follows him as he talks about his 12-step meeting, his program. You know, this guy really is a great story, Darren Waller. You know, he is going to be the starting tight end for the Raiders. I think he's going to be really, really good, but just a really good story of a guy that was completely down and out. You know, and the Raiders gave him a chance, and now look at the guy. It is such a great story. Hard Knocks then goes back to a meeting with Gruden and the players. Gruden says they have one hell of a chance to be a big, good story here, men, and we have all the tools to do it. Then Gruden says, let's pound that ball right up their ass. I like that one. Gruden does the whole knock on wood thing. If you're with me, HBO cuts out of the meeting and plays that knock on wood line over and over and over again. It did give me a little bit of a headache. Was hoping for more of the Gruden meeting with the players. You know, that's one thing I don't like about this season of Hard Knocks is, you know, you see Gruden in the room with the players during these team meetings, and you know, obviously they're edited, but they're so highly edited. You get like one sentence and then they're talking about something else. It's just really confusing. I know Gruden and Mayock don't want to show too much, but, you know, it's Jon Gruden. And he has such good one-liners. I really would like it if they would just let it play for about 5 minutes. I really do. So anyways, things I loved about the show after the meeting. They show Derek Carr getting on Marcell Ateman. He's going after his ass. Marcell Ateman runs the wrong route. Carr just hammers him. He really does. And, you know, Carr just says, I don't settle for that. Let's be great. Now, you know, he was really getting after Ateman, and I like to see that out of Derek Carr. That's the Derek Carr I want. You know, a little bit of Gruden in him. Now, Marcell Ateman, he has a slim chance of making this roster. He really does. Let's be honest. He has a very slim chance. Then we get Jason Cabeda. I always say his name wrong, so don't worry about it. Hard Knocks was following him. I knew this prior. they followed him a lot during this show. Like every Hard Knocks show, they follow like an undrafted guy. You know, he has a story where he was undrafted last season. Now he's back this season. So yeah, you know, they follow him. They have his mother there. And of course, after that, they transition to one of the stars of Hard Knocks, Keelan Doss. Keelan Doss is fantastic. Gruden tells Doss he's got a lot of phone calls about him, which I found very interesting. Maybe that they purposely left that in there because they would trade him. And that's the only thing I could think of. I don't know why they would leave that in there. But Gruden does mention that he's gotten a lot of phone calls about Keelan Doss. Keelan Doss, then they go back to a player meeting, gets in front of the team in a meeting, and he has to sing My Girl, I think it was. And then we get another Hard Knocks star, and Jonathan Abram, he sings something. I have no idea what the hell he was even saying. So my notes here, I can't tell you. I'm sorry. I just cannot tell you what song he was singing. I don't even know a word he said. So then we get back to the Antonio Brown show. They show Antonio Brown opening up fan letters. Now, I don't know who sends fan mail in 2019, you know, through the post office, but he's opening up these envelopes, and of course it's all, oh, you know, I love you and all this kind of stuff, and I don't know, I was watching it, and I'm not going to lie here, I thought that could be fake. I really do. I mean, it just seemed kind of weird. Then they show Max Crosby. He shows his x-ray on his broken finger, which I've seen, by the way. Anyways, they talk about his surgery. Just on a side note, he told me his hand hurt like hell after surgery. Like, it hurt. But he does want to play. This guy wants to play, like, right away. He does want to play in this next preseason game that's happening. But they're trying to find the right cast for him. So we'll see what happens with Max Crosby. That's the only really thing he had to do with the show. I think Max Crosby was going to be a bigger star in Hard Knocks. They certainly have film on him. But when he broke his hand, you know, he didn't practice, so there wasn't really a lot to go on. So all they had was, you know, his hand injury. So anyways, now we get to Canada. Gruden talks to the players. Tells them, you know, listen, this game is for you, the backups basically. We get a funny moment where Carr asks Gruden if he can throw the ball to Antonio Brown just once, you know, during the preseason game. Gruden looks right at him and says, let me think about it. No. Very funny moment. I like that moment a lot. We also got to see John Gruden talking to the Packers head coach about the field conditions. Remember, it was an 80-yard field. Packers head coach said he did not want to cancel the game because there was rumors that he did want to cancel the game. He did not want to cancel the game, but he did not want kickoffs. So we also get to see Gruden, you know, basically being pissed off. You know, he wasn't happy about everything. The start of this game, he was already pissed off. You know, so it was a weird thing. You know, there's no kickoffs. Gruden mentioned something about that too, like the NFL is going to stop doing kickoffs soon. He was just really upset. Pretty much, at the start of this game, before the game, you could just tell he was pissed off. Gruden does mention something interesting to Carr on the sidelines. I really didn't understand what he was talking about, but he mentions the Carr that someone, they don't mention who it was, but gets off a bus and then says they don't feel like playing. And Gruden was really mad about this. Now, I honestly don't know who he's talking about. I'm not going to lie to you. I have not heard this story. I haven't heard any of the reporters talk about it. So I don't know. I have no idea who he is talking about. So anyways, Hard Knocks, then they show Luke Wilson again. Luke Wilson was on this show a lot because he's from Canada. I think I mentioned that. He played awful in this game. completely awful. He's going to get cut. Luke Wilson's not making this team. Then they showed Glennon playing awful, and Gruden is just pissed at this point. Gruden says, let's get Nate in the game. And then he's talking to Ed Gordon, and he says, I think he's better than what you guys think. And I like that. I'm a big Nathan Peterman fan. I don't know about you guys, but this guy's awesome. You know, I know it's only preseason, and who knows, if we throw him out there in a regular season, he might suck. But right now, I am a Nathan Peterman fan. I think all you guys should be, because the guy is just awesome. He really is. So Gruden says, screw this about Glenn. Let's get Nate in the game. Nathan Peterman, he gets in the game. And, listen, here we go. Hard Knock shows Nathan Peterman to Keelan Doss magic. You know, these guys are just, they got it, man. These guys, they know each other. This is Keelan Doss and Nathan Peterman, one hell of a team there. You know, Nathan Peterman knows exactly where to throw the ball to him. He's got him locked in. So anyways, then we go back to Cabinda. I keep saying his name wrong. Sorry, I'm doing this show live. He plays awful. Gruden's not happy. Now, I gotta say, I heard his angles have been bad all camp. They do show him make some good plays, of course, like they do on every Hard Knock show. They show the struggle, then the redemption. This happens every Hard Knock show. But listen, I'm telling you, this Cabinda, I don't know if he's going to make the team. I really don't. I really don't know if Cabinda's going to make it. But they get back to Doss making plays. Gruden keeps saying on the sideline how much he likes him. He loves him. After the game, Gruden goes to Peterman and tells him that it's the best he's seen him since Pitt. He loves Peterman. After the game, HBO is filming. When they get back, they show AB going back to his school, talks about his helmet a little bit. Looks like a rock star there. All the kids there are all happy to see him. Surprisingly, HBO follows Jay Gruden and his wife as they go watch his son Jason spar. He wants to be an MMA fighter. I thought that was kind of bizarre that they would just throw that in there. And that's really it. The show was okay. It was edited a lot, but it was still fun. Next week is the season finale. So we're going to find out next week who gets cut and things like that. That will all be on next week's show. Next week is the end of Hard Knocks for the Oakland Raiders. So I just want to mention a few things. First of all, about the episode, like I said, they showed Luke Wilson a lot in this show. I think we got a little bit too much of Luke Wilson. I know he's from Canada. I get it. Maybe HBO, I think they were hoping that Luke Wilson would have some kind of great game because that's where he's from. He's from Canada. But it didn't happen. Luke Wilson looks terrible. He really, really does. I would like to see more of Darren Waller, to be honest with you. And another thing I find strange about Hard Knocks is we have not seen Josh Jacobs. And this guy has the best story out of anyone on that team. Besides Darren Waller, you know what I mean? And he has a better story than Darren Waller. This guy was homeless. You know what I mean? It's incredible, but he doesn't want to be on the show, and he's been avoiding it. Now, the Raiders, I gotta say, like I said, this season of Hard Knocks definitely has not been the best season of Hard Knocks. Not even close. To be honest with you, now I'm going to be honest, I love Hard Knocks, but this has been one of the worst seasons of all time. And I think that's what Gruden and Mayock wanted. You don't see much go on. Like I said, the whole knock on wood thing, we get it, okay? Gruden likes them when they knock on wood after he makes a statement. But they cut off, like I mentioned before, they cut off every time Gruden's talking. They edit things. A conversation could be happening and then boom, it's cut off. Jonathan Abram is their big star, and to me, he's not. I don't know. He's not. I don't know. I hope he's a good player, but for me, he's not like something that makes me want to tune in every week. I got pretty bored of him after episode 1, to be honest. Coach Buckner, in my opinion, should be on the show a lot more. I mean, he's great. When the show opens and he's telling some of the D-line that they just suck, I mean, that is so funny. I would like to see more of that. Even at the end of the show, he's talking to Clinton Farrell, and he's talking about asking him if he brought his gummy bears, and talking about how there's, you guys are fat. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is funny. He is really, really funny. And if HBO could just use some of this, it would be so good. I'm telling you, it would be good. But some of the things I liked, like I said, I did like the scene with Carr or Marcel Aitman. I like Carr getting on his ass. I really, really do. I like the Keelan Doss story. I'm not going to lie about that. I do love the Keelan Doss story. This guy, to me, I think he stands an excellent chance of making the final 53. If not, I don't know. I think I know Gruden said I have a lot of people calling about you, but he might be saying that, like I said earlier, to drum up more interest about Keelan Doss in case they want to trade him. That's the reality, because I have a feeling the Raiders may make a trade pretty soon. I really do. During the cutdowns. There's several guys. Now, real quick, before I end this show, I'll just talk about, some of the roster and some of the things that are going on right now. As you know, the Raiders brought in, what's his name? Corey Lugent. I say his name wrong all the time. But, former Chargers player, defensive tackle. The Raiders haven't been happy with their defensive tackles. They haven't been happy with Mo Hurst or PJ Hall, just to let you know. They haven't been happy with them. And that's why they brought in Ethan Westbrooks. That's why they just brought in this former Chargers player. This is the reason why. So I don't know who's going to make it out of that group. It's going to be very interesting who actually makes it. That's something you should really look out for. I mean, you got Rush, but you know what? Anthony Rush he seemed like a lock, but maybe he's not anymore. Maybe he's not. You got Justin Ellis, who's still injured, by the way, and the Raiders already guaranteed him money. So they're stuck in a situation there where I know for a fact they would love to trade him, but they can't because he's hurt. And they already guaranteed him money. He's already got money. So, I don't know what they're going to do with him if he's not ready for week 1. Do they put him on the IR? What do you do with him? You got Eddie Vanderdoes, who he's going to get cut. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And Gruden was actually asked about Eddie Vanderdoes today. And Eddie Vanderdoes still has a concussion. This guy has had a concussion now, it seems like for what, a month. So, I mean, his time is done, it seems like, with the Oakland Raiders. So he's gone. We'll see who makes it. We will, but, we don't know. Even when the final 53 happen, when it gets cut down. Now, the tight end situation, like I said, that's pretty much, we know who's going to be the tight ends. It's going to be Darren Waller, Foster Moreau, obviously, and probably Derek Carrier. That will be the 3 tight ends. Unfortunately, Paul Butler not going to make the team, and those other guys aren't going to make the team either. So in the running back situation, I think the Raiders would trade DeAndre Washington or Jalen Richard, for that matter, if they got an offer, because Josh Jacobs is going to be an every down running back. They only really need another running back, or, one other guy. That's all they really need. And the fullback issue, I know a lot of Raider fans want Alec Ingold to be the fullback, and trust me, I want Alec Ingold to be the fullback, but, the special teams coach loves Keith Smith. The Raiders trust Keith Smith. I have a feeling Alec Ingold will end up on the practice squad. I don't think it's a good idea. I would love to see Alec Ingold as a starter, but I don't think that's going to happen. But either way, once these final 53, when the cuts happen after the next preseason game, what's going to happen is there's going to be good players on the street, and then some of these guys, let's use a, I don't know, anyone. Let's pick a player. Anthony Rush. Let's say he makes the 53. He makes it, right? But then there could be a really good defensive tackle that the Raiders like, that some team either, they went younger or something like that, and then the Raiders are going to pick him up, and then they're going to waive Anthony Rush. That's the way it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen for Anthony Rush. I don't know if he's even going to make the final 53. But I'm saying it's going to happen to some player. So even when you get to the final 53, just remember that the Raiders are clearly, John Gruden even said it today to the press, they're not done yet. They're still looking at players, and then when the final cutdowns happen, they're going to be looking around the NFL for players. And they are talking to teams about trades. I know that for a fact. It's not a secret. So we'll see what ends up happening with this final roster. But I do want to say this. I know this is a Hard Knocks recap show, but I think I went over everything. I'm pretty sure I did. I have a whole bunch of notes. I literally wrote down so much stuff, but I think I went over everything. If I didn't, I'm sorry. But I just want to say this about this team. This team is so much better than last year's team. I mean, if you look at the talent level from this year to last year, it's incredible. Now, John Gruden has to do a good job at coaching. Derek Carr, he has to be a franchise quarterback. He has to do everything right. Remember, the Raiders, they can wash their hands with Derek Carr after the season, and I believe the cap hit is like $4 million, something insane like that. So, I mean, he really has to play lights out. Let's be honest, he does. If the Raiders win 4 games this season, he's not going to be the quarterback in 2020. We all know that. But I think he's going to be just fine. I really do. I don't see this guy failing. I just don't. I mean, the wide receivers on this team are incredible. Antonio Brown, which, by the way, his feet are fine now. And his helmet thing's fine. That whole drama's over. You got Antonio Brown, Tyree Williams, Hunter Renfrow, Ryan Grant. I don't know what they're going to do with him. That's going to be interesting. I've heard some things like they might be trying to trade him. We shall see. If not, they'll have Ryan Grant. J.J. Nelson, he has a sprained ankle. Hopefully that ends up okay. I don't know what's going to happen. But all I know is this. Those 3 wide receivers alone, and AB, Williams, and Renfrow, and then you throw in a tight end like Darren Waller, they are in excellent shape. Okay? And then you got Josh Jacobs. You got a better offensive line. They're going to keep a ton of offensive linemen because of Gabe Jackson's injury, and Richie Incognito's not going to be there for 2 games. So they're going to have a ton of offensive line. I think they'll be okay in that area. Their defense, which no one is talking about. This is why I think the Raiders are going to surprise people this season. No one is talking about the Raiders in a good light. No one's saying, hey, the Raiders are going to be good this year. The Raiders are going to, no one's talking about them. They're talking about Patrick Mahomes. They're talking about, Andrew Luck retiring. No one is talking about this Raiders team who quietly just revamped their entire roster in the offseason. I mean, if you look, there's no Reggie McKenzie guys left, really, besides Eddie Vanderdoes and Justin Ellis. I wouldn't call Derek Carr Reggie McKenzie guy, but Derek Carr, who else? That's pretty much, it's a whole new team. And even last year, the vets that Gruden brought in are pretty much gone too. You don't have Frosty Rucker. God bless you, Frosty Rucker, but you don't have Frosty Rucker no more at your defensive end. Now you got Clinton Farrell, you got Josh Murrow, you got Benson Mayowa, you got Arden Key, who I think is going to be awesome this season, by the way. This team is so much better. The speed of this team is so much better. You got LaMarcus Joyner. You got Vontaze Burfict. You got Brandon Marshall, who, by the way, watch out for him. Watch out for Brandon Marshall, not in a good way. He's been struggling. You know, they had him play an entire preseason game. I believe it was the third game. They had him play the entire preseason game because second game, I'm sorry. Because, you know, he hasn't, like John Gruden said, he's had some dark days, some lingering issues, injury issues, and so just watch out for him. You know, you got Nicholas Morrow, he's still around. You know, I think he's okay. Marquel Lee, I don't know if he's going to make the team, but he's all right. But they are so much better everywhere. They really are. And like I said, they got the speed to do it. Paul Guenther's going to be dialing up blitzes, a lot more blitzes this year than what he could have done last season. They are just a better team overall. They are going to win more games. And yes, their defense is not perfect by any means. Like I said, Vontaze Burfict, yes, he knows that defense, but we don't know how he's going to play on Sundays. We don't know. Hopefully he plays great. He had his best years under Paul Guenther. Now, and hopefully, you know, Tahir Whitehead plays a lot better this season than he did last year. Because, let's face it, he wasn't very good last year. So we'll see. But I'm telling you that this team is going to be better. And I'm telling you, this team is going to surprise a lot of people. You know, if this team can even win 9 games, it's a success. Because, you know, they won, 4 games last season? They were awful last year. If they can win 9 games, that's huge. That means in 2020, this team will be a serious contender for a Super Bowl. But I have a feeling, looking at their division, yeah, the Chargers, they're good, but the Raiders can beat the Chargers. They can beat them. Even when the Raiders were bad, they could beat the Chargers. You got the Chiefs. Derek Carr has to win an Arrowhead. I've been saying now this for it feels like my whole life since Derek Carr came into the league. But he has to beat the Chiefs and Arrowhead. I think he can. And the Denver Broncos. I don't trust Joe Flacco. The opening night, Monday Night Football, Raiders versus the Broncos. That's where we're going to find out how good this Raiders team is. Now, if this Raiders team goes out and they smoke Denver, okay, that is going to, I'm telling you, that's going to slap the whole entire NFL right in their face. And the Raiders are going to be able to plant their flag and say, we have arrived. And if they can make it through that first 7 games, it's going to be a hard stretch. But if they can get out of there, you know, with 2 or 3 losses, this team is going to be really good. In fact, you know what? If they get out of those 7 games and they only have 2 losses, they're going to be a wild card team. Or they're going to have a real shot at winning the AFC West. Only time will tell. My name is Steven Michaels. Thanks a lot for listening. This is The Raiders Daily.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.